Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of Valpo Football Weekly, brought to you by Lakeshore Bone and Joint Institute. Brandon Vickery with you. Glad to be joined by the head coach of the Valpo football program, Landon Fox. And Coach, we knew it was a tall task on Saturday against a very talented and nationally ranked and full scholarship North Dakota State team. As you kind of look back at that game, maybe what's your message to the team afterward, and what are the takeaways from Saturday's game?
Yeah, I would say it's a very simple message, Brandon. And one thing that's disappointing in terms of us as coaches and the team as players is we're worried too much about North Dakota State and not worried enough about our team and what we're trying to do and the execution and the fundamentals and techniques that we're trying to utilize. And we're too worried about our opponents. And so we got to get back to the basics. And we know when we do things the way we're supposed to do it, how we're supposed to do it, be very effective. But right now, I thought we just put too much emphasis on our opponent instead of just worrying about us.
We talked going into the game about what that experience was going to be like. And despite the outcome, what positives can you take from having your players experience an environment with 1,500 fans and that type of environment against that caliber of a team? And how does going forward in the future, that experience benefit the program?
Yeah, as you watched it, the one thing we did become more comfortable, sure, there were some backups in there, but as you watched it, we did become more comfortable with the physicality and the speed of the game. That's where I think the experience therein lies. You get used to those kind of environments, those games, those situations, which will allow us to be in better positions, as we move forward. And sure, I'm not going to, I said this before, and I'm not going to change it. I mean, those experiences. This is a step in the journey in terms of our expectations to be in the playoffs. Just how do we handle those games? But again, it's got to be how do we handle them is the main focus that has to be on us and not the opponent.
I wanted to ask you about Colton Sherman. He was the team leader in tackles with 10 on Saturday, and he's a guy who's been around the program, a senior as part of that secondary. What does he bring to the table? What stands out to you about Colton Sherman?
Yeah, Brandon, he was a guy that got nominated for us defensively as a player of the week amongst our team. Had a good game, but kind of a bounce back game. He missed a few tackles in the Indiana Wesleyan game, bounced back and had a really good game and did a much better job in terms of taking angles, and that's the football. But, I think the one thing that, I was going to say, and within the last question kind of goes with this question as well, you talk about individual performances. We were able to get some guys in the game to be able to see, okay, how can they help us moving forward? And you just think about like a guy like Jamari Jackson at corner, comes in and plays really well. Has a number of tackles, defends the deep ball against number one, and as good a receiver as you're going to see. Janiah Clark comes in, at running back, at freshman, and is able to make a few plays. Adam Mekhi at linebacker. So you were able to get some guys game experience that you're going to need as you go through the season.
Through the first 2 weeks, you played 4 quarterbacks. I got to ask you the quarterback question again this week. Just where do things stand at that position going into this week's game?
I think a lot will just depend upon the injury and where we're at from injury with Taryn being out. Taryn Barry was very good throughout camp, and so we felt like he was at the top of the list in terms of his production during fall camp, and so we'll see where he's at from an injury perspective. But I thought Ben and Mason both did some really good things in the game, and we were just inconsistent. And that inconsistency. You had to play here or there, but we just weren't as consistent as we need to be. And to me, that really starts up front as well. And that's on both sides of the ball, O-line and D-line. We have to be consistent. It's a physical game. They're very good players up front, but we have to match that physicality to obviously give us a chance in those type of games.
You play a Dartmouth team that went 9-1 in 2019, but hasn't played a game since. As a coaching staff, as far as preparation, what type of challenge does that present that they haven't played a game and there's no film in a game situation for the last 2 years with this team? And how do you adapt to that to be prepared to take on Dartmouth on Saturday?
Yeah, I would say this. Dartmouth is, obviously I think as a coach, you always get nervous because you just don't know exactly what you're going to get. However, Dartmouth is, they've won the Ivy League 3 years in a row, and they've lost 4 games in 3 years. So you're going to be facing a very good team in terms of they're going to do what they do. Will they have wrinkles? Sure. They've had some time to work on things and add some things or take some things away. So your preparation, again, from what they do, you want to make sure that you're prepared as possible, but just make sure that we're doing the right fundamentals and techniques. We're executing our assignments offensively, defensively, in a kicking game. But yeah, it's been a very challenging in terms of non-conference. I think an Indiana Wesleyan team that will probably make the NAIA playoffs have a really good chance, and obviously North Dakota State, who will have a really good chance to make the FCS playoffs and go above and beyond. Now you're playing an Ivy League, champion, a 3-time Ivy League champion. So great competition. That's why you come to Valpo, playing these type of games.
There he is, the head coach of the Valpo football program, Landon Fox. It's the home opener this Saturday, and fans are able to pack Brown Field at full capacity this week as Ivy League foe Dartmouth comes in. And if you can't make the game, all the home games this season will be available on ESPN3. This is Valpo Football Weekly. It's brought to you by Lakeshore Bone and Joint Institute. And again, for all the latest in Valpo football, you can follow us on social media or visit valpoathletics.com.